presidents go off-script about alien existence. Throughout the 20th century, the American government consistently denied the possibility that life forms from another planet had visited Earth. The official story was that there was no Area 51, no Roswell, and if anyone claimed to have seen a UFO, or worse still, been the victim of an alien abduction, they were dismissed as fantasists of the tinfoil hat brigade. However, all that changed in 2017 when the Pentagon announced a $22 million program to analyze anomalous aerospace threats, or UFOs to you and I. Current President of the United States, Donald Trump, has also recently confirmed that in the early days of his tenure, he had multiple meetings with officials about unidentified flying objects, although he followed this up by stating he did not personally believe in the existence of extraterrestrial beings. Yet despite decades of denials from government spokesmen, there have been a number of occasions when high-ranking American officials have had their own encounters with aliens, including several presidents of the United States, and it seems that many of those who have held the position as leader of the free world have been less than discreet about their experiences with beings from another planet. The history of presidential encounters with alien beings began with the 1947 crash and recovery of an alien spacecraft outside Roswell, New Mexico. Soon after, President Harry Truman instructed Secretary of Defense James Forrestal to set up Operation Majestic 12, a blue-ribbon top-secret panel headed by Vannevar Bush, a leading Manhattan Project figure and creator of the Memex machine, a forerunner of the modern-day computer. Researchers contend that the Majestic 12 committee eventually brokered a sit-down between a race of space aliens called the Greys and President Dwight D. Eisenhower, during which an agreement was reached to enable alien studies of human biology via abductions and animal mutilations in exchange for use of extraterrestrial black technology that would lead to developments like the B-2 stealth bomber. However, Eisenhower would not be the last president to get up close and personal with beings from outer space. In 1969, 8 years before his tenure at the White House, then State Governor Jimmy Carter was on his way to deliver a speech at the local Lions Club in Georgia. At the time, Carter didn't report what he'd seen, but in 1973 he was approached by the International UFO Bureau in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and asked to make a statement. Recalling the incident, he said that someone brought his attention to an object in the sky. He looked and saw a bright object which seemed to be coming toward him before it stopped over a stand of pine trees. He reported that it first appeared as a green light, then the bizarre object started to change colors, first to blue, then to red, and finally to white, before it took off again into the sky. He described the light as getting brighter and brighter before it disappeared, and it didn't seem to have any substance. Carter acknowledged that it was quite a strange experience which he was at a loss to explain. President Carter was one of around 20 witnesses who said that the object hovered over the trees for 10 or 12 minutes before it suddenly vanished without a trace. Needless to say, it was near impossible to prove what he witnessed that night, but the event left a long-lasting impression. When Carter was running for president in 1976, he even said he'd put in an open policy for people who wanted to come forward with UFO sightings, and any information gathered would be shared with scientists and the public. But Carter was not the only one to have a close encounter with UFOs prior to entering the White House. After the end of his Hollywood career, former actor Ronald Reagan entered politics where he served as governor of California for 8 years from 1967 to 1975. It was during this period that Reagan had both his encounters with extraterrestrials. The first occurred on the night that Reagan was invited to a party that actor William Holden was having in Hollywood. A number of key personalities were invited. Two of them, comedian Steve Allen and actress Lucy Ball, both told a story of Reagan's UFO encounter. Reagan was missing when the party began, and the party was held up until he and Nancy arrived nearly an hour late. According to both Allen's and Ball's version of events, Reagan was very excited. He described the fact that he and Nancy had seen a UFO while coming down the coast highway to Los Angeles and stopped to watch the event. Some unconfirmed stories of the event stated that the object actually landed. Lucy, in her account of the event, stated, "After he was elected president, I kept thinking about that event and wondered if he still would have won if he had told everyone that he saw a flying saucer." The second of Reagan's encounters happened whilst flying across California. There were 4 persons aboard the plane: pilot Bill Painter, 2 security guards, and then Governor Reagan. As the airplane approached Bakersfield, the passengers called Painter's attention to a strange object to its rear. It appeared to be several hundred yards away, Painter recalled, and it was a fairly steady light until it began to accelerate. It then appeared to elongate before the light took off. It went up at a 45-degree angle at a high rate of speed. Everyone on the plane was surprised. A week later, Reagan recounted the sighting to Norman C. Miller, then Washington bureau chief for the Wall Street Journal. Reagan told Miller, "We followed it for several minutes. It was a bright white light. We followed it to Bakersfield, and all of a sudden, to our utter amazement, it went straight up into the heavens." When Miller expressed some doubt, a look of horror came over Reagan. it suddenly dawned on him that he was talking to a reporter. Immediately afterward, according to Miller, Reagan clammed up and he never spoke about his experiences again in public. What's more intriguing about both President Carter and President Reagan's UFO sightings is that once elected, both requested access to confidential files about the frequency of UFO sightings amongst the American public. However, both were denied by one man who would later ascend to hold the highest office in the land. During the Carter administration, George Bush was director of the CIA. When Carter approached him to ask what the organization knew about extraterrestrials, Bush refused to release any information and Carter backed off, later announcing that there was no government cover-up of the existence of alien beings. Only 4 years later, Bush was the running mate with Ronald Reagan for his candidacy for the presidency. During this period, he asserted full control of CIA briefings, effectively filtering the information that President Reagan had access to. A few years later, Bush himself would be elected into presidential office, becoming the 41st president of the United States in 1989. He immediately asserted tighter control over what information could be shared with the government and seized full control over the presidential daily briefings. The security-conscious Bush advised that these new measures were necessary to prevent the leaking of confidential and sensitive information. The numerous actions of George Bush may have been the reason that for the entire time Bush was vice president and then president, rumors ran through the UFO community that Bush was a member of the Majestic 12 group that had controlled and managed the UFO situation since the days of Presidents Truman and Eisenhower. Interestingly, the number of UFO incidents during the Bush presidency decreased significantly. Bush had learned the reasons for keeping secrets and remained tight-lipped about the UFO situation while president. Does this mean that the UFO phenomena went away during the Bush years, or that Bush was able to deflect all UFO paperwork to other agencies such as the Air Force, NASA, or highly classified black-budget programs set up to specifically keep the UFO situation away from the probing eyes of the public? Whatever the reason, Bush would only serve one term before a change of administration brought his successor, Bill Clinton, into the White House. Almost from his first day in office, Clinton insisted on learning everything he could about the UFOs and the cover-ups that the American government had implemented, including the Roswell incident. Clinton was aiming to be more upfront and honest with the American people about the existence of UFOs. However, this ambition would be tested a few years into Clinton's term of office by an event which would become the most witnessed UFO sighting in history. The Phoenix Lights incident became a phenomenon on March 13, 1997, when thousands of people reported seeing huge triangular UFOs drifting over Arizona and the city of Phoenix. The sizes of the lights varied from that of a Boeing 747 up to ones covering the area of multiple football fields. 5 lights were seen in formation by thousands of people for over 3 hours, and the sightings took place across a 300-mile area from Phoenix to Tucson. The U.S. government was quick to announce that the lights were nothing more than military flares set off during an exercise at the time. However, investigations confirmed no military exercise was taking place at the time of the sightings. So-called triangular UFOs are still seen in high numbers across the USA, but never before have they been seen in such numbers as during the Phoenix Lights incident. Despite the official version, it is widely reported that Clinton put the U.S. military on high alert, the first time a sitting president has taken such a step due to the threat of an alien invasion, although he later denied this. What these incidents demonstrate is that prior to election, several of those who have held the role of president are open-minded, curious, and often eager to get the truth about alien visitation. However, once in office, each one eventually toes the official line, publicly denying the existence of UFOs or any suggestion of a government cover-up. Even in retirement, the former presidents remain tight-lipped about what they know about UFOs, and one could argue that they do so with good reason. Information recently released by the CIA revealed that in 1963, just 10 days before his death, John F. Kennedy wrote a letter to the head of the CIA demanding to be shown highly confidential documents about UFOs. Alien researchers say that the latest documents add weight to the suggestion that the president could have been shot to stop him from discovering the truth about extraterrestrial activity. Conspiracy theorists say the documents add credence to a disputed file, nicknamed the Burn Memo, which a UFO investigator claims he received in the 1990s. The document, which has scorch marks, is claimed to have been mailed to UFO hunter Timothy Copper in 1999 by an unknown CIA leak, but has never been verified. In a note sent with the document, the apparent leaker said he worked for the CIA between 1960 and 1974, and pulled the memo from a fire when the agency was burning some of its most sensitive files. The undated memo contains a reference to Lancer, which was JFK's Secret Service code name. On the first page, the Director of Central Intelligence wrote, "As you must know, Lancer has made some inquiries regarding our activities, which we cannot allow. Please submit your views no later than October. Your action to this matter is critical to the continuance of the group." Less than 2 weeks later, Kennedy was dead. While it's not an outright admission of alien existence, many believe that this subtle change in the position of the American government is part of an ongoing indoctrination program to prepare the public for the long-awaited announcement confirming not only that aliens exist, but that they have been frequent visitors to our planet and may even be living amongst us.